Welcome to Mercy's Designs. My name is Mercy and I demonstrate Stampin' Up! Products. Today I would like to show you this modified version of the suspended book fold card in the A2 size. This is from Ice Images. I saw this one and I modified it so it would fit into a regular size envelope and use less paper. So let me show you first of all how to make the whole all the layers. It's fairly straightforward, but I did make a template for myself. So this just will let me, when I want to make this again, go back to it and know exactly what goes into it. So for the back layers, I represent that with the green. And I will then know exactly how to recreate it. You know, if it's a half year, even 2 weeks, you'd be surprised how it's easy to forget these things. So I have this, and then for that arm, let's see. Okay, so for the arm, I go ahead, score 2 at the same time, and then cut it in half. So that would be 3 inches by 5 inches, and then you're going to score it. So this is 1.5 inches. Eventually, you need 2 arms. And then for the front pop out, it's 4 by 4.25. And then for those panels, it's basically, it's 1/8 inch smaller. So it's 1 7/8 by 4 1/8. And then with the DSP, it's 1 3/4 by 4 inches. So you can see how that works. And then finally, for the last part is this acetate. So this obviously isn't acetate, but it is easier to see it because it's clear. I use red tape on it, and this will sandwich under the DSP. So if you look at my card here, this goes under these layers so that you do not see it. And it just makes a really cool effect. So I'm going to show from the top, and you can see how this automatically pops out and that pushes it down. This creates some tension on it, but when you mail it, you can definitely keep it flat, although I'm sure this would be extra postage. But I just have been really going crazy with these fun folds, and I think this one is a really fun, I would say medium to hard card for the fun folds, but it's well worth it and not too hard if you break it down. So with that, I will get going on showing you how to assemble this. So one of the things that the demonstrator I watched was saying is draw a line down your center here. So for this, you're going halfway. So halfway would be, so since it's that, it'd be 2 3/4, and mark it and then do the line. This will be covered up. So don't hesitate about that from that standpoint. And you can always erase a little bit. I did it a little darker than necessary. This is our front panel, and I've already gone ahead and scored this at 2 inches. So eventually this will be in the front. I may as well just bring in some of my pieces here. So, okay, so this will be for here, and I'll just lay them on here just so I'm ready to go once, you know, we reach that point. But the first step you're going to do is add these arms. So I will get started with that. And now I mark this at 3/4 inch down so that when I'm lining it up, I can try to get it exact. So I did so far with the left side. So just make sure you burnish these, and the scoring for this is 1 1/4, 2 1/2, and 3 3/4. But I've gone ahead to do that. I have done that ahead of time. So what I'm going to do now is only add glue and some tear and tape. So what I do is a combination, and the reason why I do a combination like that is that once it dries, the tear and tape will also help reinforce it. But the glue allows you to slide it around as when it's necessary. So I just realized I do not have my Tombow, but I do have this art glitter glue. So hopefully it's not clogged. That's the one part about that. If it is, then I'll have to switch this off and go get more. Oh, there. Good. It wasn't clogged. So I'm just adding a liberal amount, and then I'm going to put this down and make sure that I have it straight. So I have that line right there, and that's how I'll know that I have it lined up. Okay, so now this arm, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to speed a little bit this up. So I now have this down. Now we're going to go ahead and decorate some of this because it'll make it easier. So what you will need are DSP pieces to fit on these little squares. And those pieces measure 1 1/8 by 1 3/8. So I already have those cut. If I can just reach into my stash of die cuts here. Okay, so here they are. And it doesn't really matter with this pattern to line it up exact. You do not need it on these first two squares because that will be covered, as you will see. I'm missing the Tombow. This is a little dry type glue, so it doesn't slide the same, but it's less sticky, so pros and cons always, right? All right, so we have that now, and I'm going to go ahead and add the centerpiece here. Isn't this beautiful paper? And this time, instead of using the pale papaya like on my original, I am using fresh Freesia as my matte paper. So I'm just going to quickly add this right in here between those score lines. I want to make sure that I don't interfere with that. And you could always add a larger border to this. Okay, so here is my, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go ahead and add a few of these. So it's a total of 6 little pieces of DSP, 2 on the outer part of the arms, 1 or 2 in the inner part right here. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, and then 2 over here and 2 over here. So making a total of 6. Okay, so moving on. Now we can go ahead and finish decorating this part. Now, if you have a pattern like I do, it is very nice to rematch it up. It just looks visually nicer. So I am checking for that. These little side decorative panels are the 1 3/8 by 4 1/4. And I'm just going to line that up, and it just looks like, the nice part is these arms now look really built in. It's all nicely covered. This is a really cool design this woman came up with, I thought, in Fun Fold. So I just was like, oh, I have to do that in a A2 size, which I'm sure there are other videos for A2 for this very type of, this card, this Fun Fold, which is the suspended book fold. But I went ahead and did it on my own, which probably wasn't necessary, but it gave me some really good experience on how to create a card just kind of like from scratch, if you will. Figure it out on my own. So here we're going to add this part here. So this is the next step. And oh, I keep forgetting, I'm not used to using tear and tape and glue, but I think that it will help reinforce it. So it's not a bad idea to use both at the same time. So just adding, and I could tear this tape. I'll show you how to, it works very well this way, but I'm not in the habit of it for some reason. So it just tears off. It is a little quicker, I should get. Okay, so, but I'm gonna leave that one attached. I suggest doing this one at a time. I'm adding my glue now, and I'll bring this in. So we want this down the center. So the best way to do that is probably to close it in half and then line it up here. And I'm looking at it, and then I'm also making sure this will be straight. Now, if you happen to if you have a little too much, you could chop that off after the fact, but I would do the upper part. Okay, so that looks good. Now I'm ready to add this side. So all I do is whip off these tear and tape backings, and oof, that one didn't come off. My nail is it broke, so I'm kind of short on a nail. I know some of the demonstrators use the take a pick tool to take off backings and stuff like that, but I haven't learned that trick. Okay, so here we go. All right, so now we're going to bring in the acetate layer, I should say. And I am just showing this because you can't really see this very well. Now I have scored this. This is 6 inches long, and I scored it 1 inch in. So what I need to do now is add some red tape. I don't think that the tear and tape is strong enough for this. So I'll speed this part up because I didn't prepare this ahead of time. Okay, so I am now going to go ahead and attach this. So what I'm going to do, oh, this red backings are so crazy. They're full static. So what I'm going to do is center this, and I'm going to put it right at the end here. I know this might be hard to see because this is all clear, but that's what will make it really cool too, the clearness of it. Okay, now take off these backings. Now the only thing is you do have to slip then your decorations and so on under it, but I don't consider that big of a deal. So we just put this now like that, and then it'll create an extra layer to spring it up, which is super cool. So I will bring in now the pieces that layer under here. I have them over here. Now, again, this is kind of nice if you have it directionally lined up. Those crazy red backings, ugh. Now, at this point, you could decorate it and then put it in, but I just did it this way because it's not that big of a deal to slip under that layer. So I will then show you a little bit of stamping before we move on to the decorating of this whole fancy fold, because I love this card. I'll just add enough glue, and now that's covered those little tabs, and it just looks very finished. Okay, so as promised, I will do some stamping. Now I'm going to show how to die cut these with the little mini cut and embossing machine, sorry. But I did want to show that, and I realize I set this up left-handed, but it'll make it easier for you to see. I'm not left-handed. So this goes a little easier than what I'm showing. There we go. So this little mini cut and emboss machine is actually on sale this month with Stampin' Up. It's 20% off. So that's very cool. And then you just now have the pieces all nicely die cut out. But because I wanted to save time and not color, I have gone ahead and done these ahead of time. So you will be able to see the finished versions, which are right here. And I did with fresh Freesia. And the little bees are right here. So super cute. The only other stamping we're going to do is for the decorating the back panel, and then we will finish up this card. So I have a little strip of this DSP, and I always like to put this at the bottom of the card. And I do suggest doing this part second, just in case you mess up your stamping. We're going to hope for the best in this case. So part of the stamp set, I think for the Honeybee one, is this little image of these little adorable flowers. So I went ahead and stamped that. I'm going to go ahead and stamp that in the Misty Moonlight. So right there. And then I colored the other one in, or you could just leave it just like that. So for my original, where's my original card? It is, okay, it's right over here. It was hiding. So for my original one, I colored it with a little bit of the pool party and then the pale papaya in the center. But this one I'm going to just go ahead and leave blank. And I'm going to bring in my fresh Freesia and stamp the Stay Wonderful stamp. And I just love this sentiment. I think it works for everything. It could work for a thank you. It could work for a birthday, whatever. It just is a nice little encouragement sentiment. So now we're going to bring back in our base and we're going to do some decorating. So that is for the back. So I went ahead and put the backings on here, but I will speed this up. So I wanted to show a little bit about this thanks. This is from the Amazing Thanks die set. Now I used the red tape on here and it's kind of a little bit tricky, but I didn't put any on the top or too far down. That's because this is a little over an inch. So what I'm going to do now is push everything down and center this as best I can. So I think it's kind of between the A and the N. I'm going to place this one. And then it pops right up like that. So I think that's adorable. Now we're going to bring back in our back panel. And we're going to go ahead and add this to the back. This is where you can sign your card and add a message. But this is definitely a special type card. Maybe give it in person, or you will have to pay a little extra in postage, I'm sure. Have it hand stamped. Okay, just gonna slide this into place. And that is your expanded bookfold card in the A2 size. So if you enjoyed this card, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any stamping needs, please contact me at mewants3@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to help you place an order with the host code. Thanks so much for watching, and let me know in the comments below which color combination you like better, with the pale papaya or the fresh freesia. I think they're both just lovely, and I love this whole thing with the thanks over the top. Thanks again for watching. Happy stamping.